The Uhuru Academy overall is an amazing school from the teacher to the students. Is a place where kids can build their confidence and learn how to write, read, type, all of that good stuff. We learn our history here. We honor our ancestors, so we learn about who we are and where we come from, and I really enjoy this about that school. About this school, um, and like everybody's pretty much saying, it's a safe space, and we can always be able to feel like we can open up to our classmates and our teachers. So that's what I love. I love the environment and that they promote not being afraid to ask for help. Something positive about the Hoover Academy is this is a safe space and you can be able to say whatever you want to say without being embarrassed, just like how Amani said. I've been able to sometimes I can be shy talking around people, but y'all taught me not to be shy and everything. This is a very good school. The part that I love about this is when we do ancestor reverence and African history. I think this is the greatest school I've ever went to because you teach me about my history, and at the other schools they never taught me one thing about my history. They just taught the only black people they talked about at my other schools were like Carter G. Woodson, Martin Luther King, and I think that's it. So you guys helped me learn my true history.
All right, all right, all right. Peace and power, y'all. This is your brother Baba Amin Ojuwoke, and this is a quick morning build. I'm not gonna be on here long. I got work to do. But first giving thanks to the creator and giving thanks to the ancestors just for the opportunity to be here, for the opportunity to share, for the opportunity to teach. Support the Uhuru Academy. Go to uhuruacademy.com. You can go to Uhuru Academy. Matter of fact, you can join our Patreon. If you see what's scrolling at the bottom of the screen, the Uhuru Academy Patreon, you can become an Uhuru Academy patron by going to patreon.com/Uhuru Academy. All right, gives you an opportunity to become a monthly donor, automated donor to our school. All right. You can also support us via Cash App at $Uhuru Academy. Excuse me, I'm sorry. How Umar be doing it? Run the Cash App, run up the Cash App, the Cash App, the Cash App. All right, all right, all right. But most definitely go check out uhuruacademy.com, and I want to thank excuse me, offer my thanks to those who are our supporters, those who support African-centered education, those who supported our work over the years. The Uhuru Academy has been around since 2010. So we're in our 14th year, and we're in our 14th year because of the Black community, period. All right. We're in our 14th year because the Black community has supported us. We don't get any outside grants. We don't get any outside help. All the help that we've gotten has been with the Black community, and everything has been based on our work. All right. It hasn't been charity. It hasn't been begging. It's been like, whoa, they're doing incredible things over there. I want to support that. You know what I'm saying? And that's the type of support we want. We don't want you to support us because we're Black. We don't want you to support us because of that. We want you to support us because we're good. We want you to support us because we're great at what we do, and I stand on that, especially when you look at the amount of resources that we have versus the product that we're churning out. I stand on our greatness. I stand on what we have. And I'm going to tell y'all something. If you mess around and really start supporting us, watch what we do, right? If the Black community really starts supporting the Uhuru Academy, watch what we do. Y'all, if half the people who know what we do actually supported what we did, oh man, we be on a whole in another stratosphere right now when it comes to educating Black children. But we don't rest on that. We don't rest on that, right? That's why we actively, work with children every day. We actually offer our product. That's why we do other things outside of that. We throw events, we fundraise, we do what we have to do to where we're not just relying on donations to be here. Right. And so our work speaks for itself. Shout out to our team, our UA online team, Miss Haley Lair, Queen Haley Lair, Mama Alexis Harris, my beautiful wife, and Koyo Ojuwo. Peace to all of our advisors that are out there that are helping us, you know what I'm saying, and our comrades out there that's been in the trenches with us, like Mama Kamaria and Dr. Juichi Bomani, my sister, Dr. Stacy Parker, and others. Shout out to the family at UASC International here in Columbia, South Carolina, what we call the model institution, right? We're building schools, man. When I tell you it's a beautiful campus out here, a beautiful program that we have on the ground here in Columbia, South Carolina, we are not exaggerating at all. Matter of fact, words don't do it justice. You kind of have to see it for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the Prince family in Houston and the Prince Circle of Legends Academy and that whole team down there. We not finished yet. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Cheryl Irvin and the new Akibalon STEM Academy in Broward County, Florida. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the Roxbury Roots Montessori Academy in Roxbury, Massachusetts. And shout out to all other African-centered programs and African-centered schools out there doing what they have to do to uplift and build our children. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not an easy task, all right? It's a beautiful task, but it's not an easy task, you know, and it's not easy being a Black-owned business, period. Right? It's not easy having a Black-owned business, period. Now, I'm talking about no matter how good you are, because we're good at what we do. I mean, we're good at what we do. And I say that boldly. I say that boldly. You ain't going to find anybody that's encountered the Uhuru Academy that'll tell you we're not great at what we do. If they tell you that, they lying. If they tell you otherwise, they're not telling the truth. We're great at what we do, but it's still an uphill battle. It's still an uphill battle to win Black people's trust. Like, you still have to fight through Black self-hate. You have to fight through that. You have to fight through our lack of collective confidence, right? Our lack of confidence and faith in each other. You have to fight through our fear. We're so afraid to be independent. We're so afraid to be out here on our own. And that's intentional. Right? We were educated to be afraid to be on our own. We were educated to be afraid to be entrepreneurs. Most Black people I know that are entrepreneurs probably come from a family that had entrepreneurs in it, but rarely are they products of the school system, right? And then a lot of times, a lot of Black people I meet that are adamant that they don't want to own their own business. It's because they come from a family of entrepreneurs and they see the struggle. They see the lack of support. They see the systemic racism that goes into it. They see the stress that their parents were under trying to maintain a legacy. They see the 12-hour days, the 14-hour days, and they don't want any part of that. They don't want any part of that. Same reason a lot of Black people left their family land. A lot of us leave the family land because we don't want to work. We don't want the work that comes with that. We see the stress that our grandparents then was coming home with. You know what I'm saying? And not understanding that they were encountering systemic racism when they went to the market. They were encountering hatred and you know, things that were put in place to intentionally make things hard on them. And it made the generation that came after them not want it. Right. And so you saw Black flight coming out of the land, and then not to mention terrorism, white domestic terrorism, running Black people off of the land back in the day. And so you saw an influx of Black people running into urban areas, going into the big cities with a dream. With the dream of making it big, with the what they call it, the American dream, right? You saw an influx. Look at the Harlem Renaissance. The Harlem Renaissance happened as a result of the first great migration out of the South in the late 1800s and early 1900s, after the Reconstruction period was over and the Republicans allowed the Democrats to take the South back by any means necessary. Right? Because y'all know Abraham Lincoln was Republican. So initially, when Black men got the right to vote after 200,000 of us fought in the Civil War, when Black men got the right to vote after saving the United States, literally saving the United States from becoming the Confederacy, the Confederate States of America, right? After 200,000 Black men fought in the Civil War, we actually got citizenship, so-called citizenship, the right to vote, right? Many Black people began to build towns. Black people began to take over where they lived politically, because in a lot of those areas where you had enslaved Africans, you know what I'm saying, they were in the majority. So all of a sudden, you have areas like states like South Carolina, you know, states like Georgia, Mississippi, right, that held the most enslaved Africans. Now all of a sudden, all these black men can vote. So go research that period. It's Black History Month. Go research that period between 1865 and 1895, what they call the Reconstruction period, and go see how black people were responding to freedom. And you'll see in a lot of places, right, that Africans began to take over. They began to become sheriffs. They began to go into Congress. As a matter of fact, in 1880, there were more black people in Congress than there is today. Right. And so the that instant involvement, that instant reach for political power that happened during a Reconstruction period. And these black people were Republicans. Hold on. Excuse me. These black people were Republicans because that was the party of who? That was the party of Lincoln. Right now, Bob's not on here talking about we supposed to be Republicans. Now, I'm gonna get to my point in a second. You know what I'm saying? Because after a while, after the North was finished punishing the South, right, the Republican Party betrayed black people. The Republican Party betrayed black people, because they wanted that Southern economy. I think part of what they realized is that you can't have capitalism without having a slavery class. You can't have capitalism. It's one thing to have a working class, but Western capitalism requires a slavery class. And we still have a slavery class of about 2 million people that are in the U.S. prisons right now, right? And they're in those prisons manufacturing goods. So there is still a slavery class in America. After Reconstruction, I believe that the industrial North realized that in order for the few aristocratic families to stay insanely rich, everybody can't have a job, everybody can't require wages, and everybody can't be out here competing. You need a slavery class, right? And so the South was allowed to rise again, right? Now, when the South was allowed to rise again, these were mostly Democrats, right? For example, in Wilmington, North Carolina, I believe in 1891, right, African people, black people made up the majority of the town. They're basically taking over the town politically. They're taking over the town economically, and they had a thriving black community in Wilmington, North Carolina. Well, in 1891, the Democratic Party took over Wilmington, but not at the ballot box. Y'all go look up the Wilmington Race Massacre, the Wilmington Race Riots. In 1891, the Democratic Party took Wilmington by force. Wilmington, North Carolina, the hometown of Michael Jordan. They took it by force. They murdered black leaders in that city. They burned homes, they burned businesses, they burned buildings, and they replaced every black leader in local government and implanted their own leader. It's literally a coup, the only violent political coup in a city in U.S. history that's on record. It happened. Nobody ever went to jail for it, and it was the Democratic Party that did that. I'm not telling you to be anything. I'm just telling you the history of it all. We have a bloody history with both parties because, yes, the Democratic Party did that, but the Republican Party did nothing. So the Democratic Party was allowed to do that. Federal troops wasn't brought in. Nobody came in and made those white Democrats give up their seats and democratically elect somebody else. That didn't happen. That didn't happen at all. Wilmington, North Carolina, go look at it. So both parties mutually agreed that should happen. Now, what the Republican Party had to do was very similar to what the Democratic Party has to do now. They had to come in and convince black people that there was nothing that they can do. They had to come in and convince black people that hey, we're doing the best that we can. Why? Because they still wanted the black vote. But one thing that the Republican Party realized at that time was that in a minute, it wasn't going to be no black vote. There would be no black vote to rally for because part of the South rising again was the suppression of the black vote. So then you would have places in the South. You have towns like Lowndes County, Alabama, that may have 85% black population, but nobody black voted for decades. So the Democratic Party was allowed, like y'all be worrying about the Tea Party today. Y'all worry about these white militias, right? Y'all see these white militias. Y'all see these Trumpsters talking about civil war and all that kind of stuff and say, oh, they're going to get violent. They're going to do. Well, that's happened already. That's happened before. You're right to worry about that. Because the Republican Party sat back and allowed the Democratic Party to militarize itself in the South and terrorize black people back into submission. Back into, I don't even want to call it second-class citizenship, maybe third, fourth-class citizenship, and back into slavery. They set up a peonage system that will become the penitentiary system. Because you know that 13th Amendment says slavery is outlawed except for the punishment of a what? Except for punishment for a crime. So the South went about, in America, not just the South, America, in the urban cities, in the rural areas, America went about the business of criminalizing black culture. So everything you did became a crime. Standing out in front of the store, that's a crime. They call it vagrancy. Oh, that was the big one in the South. They catch you standing somewhere, walking somewhere, and you can't explain where you coming from or where you going, we putting you in jail for vagrancy. And if you can't explain it and can't prove it, they still putting you in jail for vagrancy. Then they'll hire you out, because while you're in jail, then they'll hire you out to a work farm, and you'll get out there and you'll work for free. They're saying you're working off your bail, right? They'll tell you that you're working off your bail, but you're actually working for free. That's slavery. That was the foundation of the penitentiary system that we have today. I read an article the other day about Angola prison, you know what I'm saying, and how which is one of the largest and roughest penitentiaries we have in the country. Y'all know they produce almost $200 million worth of goods per year. Do y'all know that the prison economy is a multi-billion-dollar economy? The prison economy is a slave economy. That's a bipartisan agreement. That's not a Democrat thing. That's not a Republican. Everybody down with that. As a matter of fact, your modern day Democrats are the number one mass incarcerators. Anyway, we're gonna keep it going. So what I'm saying is basically is that the Republican Party and the Democratic Party are just two wings of the same bird. Do y'all know that the Republican Party and the Democratic Party used to be one party? Literally, they were called the Democratic Republican Party, and they would be going up against the Whig Party and other parties, but they were one party that split into two factions. Now, those two factions of one party seem to be the only two parties that exist. They're the only two parties that have a chance, especially when it comes to national and statewide elections. That's not an accident. This is one party that figured out how to control this country into perpetuity by pretending to be two parties. We're not voting for one party or the other. We're voting for two factions of the same party. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party are actually the Democratic Republican Party. They're one party. We just voting for one faction or the other. Stop me when I'm wrong. Look how bipartisan it really is. How different are they really? They have us so spooked. We judge them based on who look prejudiced and who don't. We judge them on who look racist and who don't look racist. That's a horrible way to judge whether or not somebody should represent you politically. Because it's easy. How can you prove my racism? All I got to do is shut up. All I got to do is not call you the N-word. All I got to do is put hot sauce in my purse. All I got to do is play the saxophone. All I got to do is do something black or have my black best friend sit next to me or whatever, and I can cover my racism. Racism is the easiest thing to cover out there, period. So if that's your marker, then you easy to fool. So how did black people become Democrats? How do we begin to start voting Democrat? He voted Republican all through the early 1900s because it was the party of Lincoln. And even though the Republican Party was allowing the Democratic Party and supporting the Democratic Party, terrorizing, no one called in troops to help black people during Jim Crow. Nobody called in the National Guard to stop lynching. You go research how many black massacres there were in the early 1900s. Nobody went to jail for Rosewood. Nobody went to prison for Tulsa, Oklahoma. What, you don't think the Republicans heard about it? It was Democrats doing it. Yeah. Oh, everybody dropped the bomb on, Gap Band dropped the bomb on me. Everybody dropped the bomb, voted Democrat. Those were Democrats, Southern Democrats in Tulsa that burned down houses and killed almost 3,000 black people. The Republicans didn't intervene with force. There was no opposite force of white people that came in to defend the black community from the prejudiced white people. Name that time. Name somebody outside of John Brown. Name that time that white people organized to come and rescue and save and fight side by side with black people to preserve their way of life in this country. Name that time. Now, I'm not a historian, but I'm a good student of history. Name that time. You're going to have to go all the way up to the civil rights movement and school desegregation. And even during that time, that wasn't really white people defending our interests. Because integrating the Little Rock 9 and Little Rock was not the best thing in our interest. That was not in the interest of the black community. That was not in the best interest of the black community, but that's a whole nother discussion. Two wings on the same bird. And now we're stuck thinking you got to vote for one or the other, so you got to go with the lesser of two evils. But you acknowledge that they both evil. And you're saying we got to vote for the evil. But where's the political education? Where's the development? Where's the mission to get us where we're not dependent upon neither one? How do we subserve? How do we interrupt or disrupt both of them in our own best interest? How do we play them like Toussaint Louverture and Dessalines and them did in Haiti, And shout out to the Haitian Revolution, 1804. Where the Haitians, when they saw that they were under the boot heel of the French, but the French was getting into it with the Spanish and the British. So the Haitians were smart. They'll fight with the Spanish against the French, then they'll fight with the French against the Spanish, and then when both sides was weak enough, they whoop both of them. But what I want to get into today, right, is a dynamic that we're going through right now that's very similar to the dynamic that the Haitians went through back then. See, in Haiti during the Haitian Revolution, you had two classes of white people, two classes of black people. You have what they call Le Grand Blancs, that's the big whites, right? Now think about this, because we're parallel this right here in the United States. So think about this. You had the Le Grand Blancs, the big whites, that was the rich planter class. Right? Those are the aristocrats. They represent the smallest percentage, but they control the majority of the economy. Sound familiar? Right? Then you have what they call the petite blancs. Those were the little whites. Those are the artisans, the working class white people, that sort of thing. They wasn't the richest on the island. There was more of them than it was the Le Grand blancs, you know what I'm saying? But you had the petite blancs, and they wasn't getting much. They were getting exploited by the Le Grand blancs, right? So they didn't like the big whites, right? But they didn't like the blacks either, but they didn't like the big whites because the big whites were exploiting them too. So you had to look man, does that sound familiar? Anyway, all right. So you had the petite blancs, like Trump got the petite blancs on lock. That's why Trump is probably going to get back in office, because he has the petite blancs of America, the little whites. The little whites turn out for Trump. Okay, but we'll get into that in a minute, right? Then you had the bourgeois, the black bourgeoisie. There was a upper middle class, rich, black class of people in Haiti, right? Mostly mulattoes, mixed breed people and that sort of thing. But you had free blacks in Haiti at the time too. They was a smaller percentage, but they had their own interests. They wanted to be equal to the Grand Blancs. They wanted to be big whites. And just like today, our middle class want to be big whites. Right? Yeah, they want to be big whites. That's why, Oprah want to be a big white. They do. That's why they turn it back on the community. That's why they make sure they don't say anything too militant. They don't engage in black politics like that, because they want to be Le Grand Blancs. They want to be equal with the big whites, right? Then you had the majority population. The majority population were the enslaved Africans, the masses, right? Right now, we're not the majority population in America, but we are the majority population in a lot of cities, in a lot of places. The petite blocks, the petite noirs, the little blacks, the enslaved blacks, right? The enslaved blacks kind of had beef with everybody, because everybody, from the bourgeoisie blacks to the petite blancs to the Le Grand Blancs, everybody hated the enslaved Africans. Everybody kind of agreed that the enslaved Africans were not civilized. Everybody agreed that the enslaved Africans couldn't handle leadership, that the enslaved Africans deserved to be enslaved. You know what I'm saying? And that the only way that enslaved Africans shouldn't be enslaved was if they assimilated into Le Grand Blanc society, assimilated into Petite Blanc society, like the bourgeoisie blacks were doing. Does that sound familiar? Enslaved Africans better not be doing nothing African, practicing an indigenous African religion. What? Oh, you're uncivilized. An enslaved African better not be embracing an African name. Oh no, you must be uncivilized. And then when they would see enslaved Africans dancing and singing and all that and celebrating, even though they were enslaved, they were like, wow, they are so dumb. They're like children, but they're very entertaining, and they are good for that. Does that sound familiar? But one thing they understood about those masses, about those enslaved Africans, was that they better control what they learn. They better control what they know, because when the enslaved class no longer wants to be enslaved, it will free itself despite the odds. It will pick death over slavery. But as long as you can convince the enslaved class that they belong in slavery, that slavery is a blessing, that the only reason why they're enslaved is because they don't know how to do this or they don't know how to do that. If you convince them that people are trying to free you, but you won't free yourself, you know how we do. We can't expect them to do nothing for us when we out here killing each other. We say that now, don't we? How we expect the system to be fair? We out here killing each other. I'm like, wow, what group don't commit murder against its same group? Like, why is that uniquely black? It's an attempt to make us believe and feel that we are inferior. And when you have a feeling of inferiority, you believe you deserve whatever it is that you get. And it's really easy to enslave someone who believes they deserve it. Ask any abuse victim what tactics that the abusers use to keep them under that abuse. I wouldn't have hit you, but you know what you do. I wouldn't have done it, but you make me so mad. Where you gonna go if you leave here? Don't nobody want you. You don't know how to do nothing. Y'all know how the abuser does it. They reinforce your inferiority complex. So you put those masses right into this system that says, look at this white God right here. This white God right here loves you. But the ways of your ancestors and things you do, it's uncivilized and it's not of God. And if you want this God to love you, you will practice his commandments. If you want this God to love you, you're not going to fight back violently. You won't embrace any type of violence. If you want this God to love you, you'll learn his word. You'll go and you'll sit in church and you'll listen and you'll learn his word. As the preacher tells you, if your master smite you on one cheek, turn and let him smite you on the other cheek. When the preacher say you can't serve two masters. When a preacher teach you that you got to be good here and you're going to get your pie in the sky, you're going to get yours in the hereafter, you can't question that. Then you walk out confused when your comrades say, your cousins say, man, I can't do this slavery thing no more. I'm about to fight back. Hold up, wait a minute. Now you're not just afraid of what master going to do if you fight back. You scared of what God is going to do to you if you fight back. Now you confused. Now you don't know what to choose, whose side to be on. You got some over here that say, hey, we're not gonna fight back violently, but what we're gonna do is if master treating us too bad, we're gonna deliberately work slow. We're gonna break some tools. See, this is a safe way to do it, And then you got the house Negro that say, I'm gonna talk to Master John. I'm going to talk to Master John and make sure Master John makes sure that we is off for Christmas. I'm going to make sure Master John know that these youngins don't need to be out here in the field till they at least 9 years old. 6 is just too young. Things is getting better if y'all just be patient. So you're like, okay, maybe I should be patient. Sound familiar? Right? It's an election year. So now the Democrats going to come out and tell you, we need your vote. We need your vote. And you're going to be like, yeah, what you doing for us? What you mean what we doing for you? We're keeping Trump out of office. What do you mean? This ain't about what you need. This is about keeping Trump out of office. You're so selfish. What you want? More jobs? Stop being selfish. What do you want? Better education opportunities? Stop being selfish. Reparations? Look. Ain't it a trip? The party, the faction of the party that has literally burned down whole towns of black people won't come out and defend reparations for you. They literally owe reparations. They won't even go pay the people of Wilmington. We still know them people. They won't pay the people of Tulsa. They won't do it. And they did it. They burned down Tulsa. They burned down Wilmington. And they burned down other towns. And they won't come out and say, we support reparations. In other words, they're saying we honor what our ancestors did to you. We'll say that it was bad, but we won't formally apologize. And if we do apologize, we're not going to apologize in a way to where you can take us to court and hold us responsible. We're going to apologize for what those people did in the past, but that's in the past. Let's look to the future. But the past is still impacting us today. And it's been proven over and over and over again that Black people collectively are suffering trauma and psychological scars from slavery and Jim Crow today in 2024. It's been proven and documented. Quit being selfish and just help us keep Trump out of office. Stop me when I'm wrong. Oh, and don't worry, like I said, the Republicans ain't your friend either. Suppressing Black people, controlling the Black vote, and controlling Black education is a bipartisan issue. Your position is bipartisan. The Democrats are just your babysitters. Their job is to control your narrative. Their job is to make sure that you don't have thoughts of political independence, that you don't have thoughts of economic independence. That's their job. I mean, that's my stance. And just like you had a Black bourgeoisie class, right? In Haiti, guess what? That Black bourgeoisie class was flip-flopping. At first, the Black, okay, so for example, Toussaint was black bourgeoisie. He was formerly enslaved, but he was allowed to join the French army. He fought with the Spanish, he fought with the French, and ultimately, after the French Revolution, you know, the white folks in France was like, it's liberté, liberté, freedom for all. And then they saw what was going on in Haiti, so they were able to politically get a majority that says we shouldn't be enslaving them. And so Toussaint was actually able to abolish slavery in partnership with this new French regime. This was around 1793, I believe. Well, y'all, in 1797, they got a movie out about him right now because America love its killers. The European world love their killers, right? In 1797, I believe Napoleon came to power. And when Napoleon came to power, he reversed everything and he reinstituted slavery in all of the French colonies. You know, France is the biggest colonizer of black people on the planet. They still collect taxes from over 14 African countries in 2024. Right? Haiti was its richest colony. So Napoleon comes to power and reinstitutes slavery in Haiti. Right? Now, here's the issue though. By this time, the black bourgeoisie in Haiti, they thought they were Le Grand Blancs. They thought they were equal to the big whites. And instead of declaring themselves Haitians at that time, they declared themselves French. They wanted to be French, black French men and black French women. They didn't say we were Africans. After Toussaint's victory, the bourgeoisie class said that they were now French. See that mindset? Does that like we just want to be Americans? Our bourgeoisie say kill black. I don't see race. I don't see color. I just want to be an American. But they the only one. They want that. Why do they want that? They don't want that because of a belief in brotherhood, because they believe in your exploitation. So it's not a belief in brotherhood. They want that because of a lack of love of self. They want that because of that shame that they're raised with for being of African descent, for being black people. They want that because they feel like that's going to give them protection under the law. Sound familiar? And then they want the masses of black people to calm down. And so the bourgeoisie blacks during this time when Napoleon comes to power and everything, they're telling the other black, the masses, just calm down, be patient. Things are getting better. But then Napoleon surprised them. And Napoleon sent troops, thousands of troops into Haiti. And he sent his brother-in-law over there. And he say, suppress the blacks. And the brother-in-law was like, okay, you talking about the enslaved blacks? And Napoleon like, now all of them, especially the bourgeoisie. And when Leclerc and the boys got to Haiti and they began suppressing the black middle class, all of a sudden the black middle class started growing afros. Like y'all remember when Trump was in office the first time and all the black people on TV got real black? All the black folks on MSNBC was wearing afros and all that because the racist was in office. Well, when Napoleon sent the troops into Haiti to suppress black freedom and put everybody back into slavery, including the bourgeoisie, then the bourgeoisie got black. Right? It's kind of like in the hood. We don't see them until it's election time. Like we don't see a lot of neighborhoods, and y'all might live in places like this, where you got a city council person who has an address in your neighborhood, but they don't really live there. And they only come there to get your vote. And what they're doing is getting a seat at the table for their own career and their own family and their own money, and they're not really representing your interests. Matter of fact, they think you so dumb that they tell you what your interests are. Oh man, y'all tripping. Y'all think I'm just a conspiracy theorist. And you know, ain't nobody gonna watch this and pay attention. I'm venting right now. So when Napoleon brought the troops in, the bourgeoisie got pro-black, and next thing you know, they joined the revolution with the black masses. Because the black masses like, now we're not going into slavery. And the black masses was like, and we ain't French. The black masses was like, and we not French. We don't want to be slaves, and we don't want to be Frenchmen. Neither one. Now, the petite blancs, right? The petite blancs, if they were wise, right? Like toward in the beginning of the revolution, you had some petite blancs that wanted to help the enslaved Africans. But the petite blancs received the gift from the French. And you know what that gift is? It's the same gift that Trump and the Democrats too, that both parties give working class white people here to keep them confused. And that's the gift of whiteness. The gift of superiority. You poor just like he poor, but at least you white. And in Haiti, you had blacks who had more money than you had free blacks who had more money and land than the petite blancs. But the petite blancs got the gift of superiority. And they felt, then you shouldn't, if I'm superior to you, then you shouldn't have something that I don't have. And the big block said, hell, if you can take it, go take it. We ain't gonna do nothing. As long as you don't fight us with them. If you don't fight with them, then we'll let you take whatever, we lift up off of them. He took the deal. That sound familiar? When black people were ran out of the South in the United States, many working class black people stole their land, would take over the land and build businesses and increase their lot in life without interference. Those were petite blancs that were burning down Tulsa. Those were the petite blancs that were burning down Rosewood. Those were the petite blancs that were burning down Wilmington, North Carolina. What was the deal? If you could take it, we won't interfere. And that's something that I believe the bourgeoisie blacks fear today. You have many black people who have property. You have many black people who have substantial wealth. And they probably have a legitimate fear of it being taken away from them by force. And the only thing protecting them is the deal that they've made with the Democratic wing of the party to corral the black vote, control the black narrative, and suppress black power. Look, freedom in America is a puzzle that we all trying to figure out. We need to take our gaze beyond these borders. But before we get there, we need to look at ourselves, take a long look at ourselves, and start having strong conversations about what we want as a people. And we have to understand that there is a class system in place in this country. And there is a class system in place within the black community. There is a bourgeoisie class. There is a working class. And we don't always agree. We don't always want the same thing. You can't afford, as working class people, to be so distracted that you can't even articulate what it is that you need. You can't afford, as working class people, to put all of your trust and eggs in the basket of an educated class that has its own agenda. An educated class that puts you in this meat grinder for acceptance. An educated class that's literally selling you out so others can realize their American dream. When they come and ask you for your vote this year, ask the hard questions, not the easy ones. Ask them why we don't learn more about ourselves in school. Ask them why children aren't being put on a track to get those jobs or get into those careers that are the most in demand. Ask them why your schools are falling apart. Ask them why you can't keep any teachers. Ask them that. And don't let them put it on the other wing of the same party. They're all one party. So when you ask them, don't let them just tell you it's because of the Republicans. Nah, man. Nah. Because if it's on them, then maybe I need to go talk to them. So you're saying they have the power to change it? Because if you don't have the power to change it, why am I talking to you? If it's all their fault, it's only their fault if they're the ones who have the power. So you saying you can't get better schools in my community? You're saying that black-owned businesses that still can't get a loan, that's their fault. So I need to go talk to them. Because why do we have whole white banks sitting in the middle of black communities that won't give out loans to black entrepreneurs? That's one of them other hard questions that you have to ask. Why are we still facing housing discrimination? Why is redlining still a thing in 2024? It's another hard question. Do you know what redlining is? Why isn't there any real political education in the black community, in the working class black community? These are hard questions. Right? That's right, S.A. Smith. The Republicans, they act helpless. And then the Democrats act helpless. Blame it on the Republican. Right? Okay, so is that who has the power? And trust me, when you say the Republicans ain't our friend, you are right. And when I say the Democrats ain't our friend, I am right. But the only friend we really need is us. The only friend we really need is us. I say we sit back and send an envelope to both parties and then mind our own business. I say we send an envelope to both parties and an agenda to both parties. And then locally, where we are in the majority, we take over. But with an agenda. We migrate to places where we could create power with an agenda if you're going to be here. And you may have parties who don't like it, but they're respected. But making moves out of fear. If we're in a hostage situation, then say that. I'll be quiet. If we're in a hostage situation to where if we try to do something independently, we'll be destroyed, then we need to say that. We need to tell the world we are being held hostage in the United States. We need to tell the world that we are not a democracy. We need to tell the world we're being held hostage. If we can't decide as a community that we're going to rally around our children, that we're going to rally around our family legacies, that we're going to rally around economics and political power, and you know what I'm saying? If we can't do that because of a fear of being attacked, that's a hostage situation. That's not freedom. It's time to ask hard questions. It's time to be our own party. But we have to recognize, though, that we are not all the same. We don't all believe in the same things. But we do have some common enemies, some common factors out there that can ensnare and trap all of us. And we have to be able to at least come together to invert those, to disrupt that, to disrupt the school to prison pipeline. We have to come together and disrupt that. We have to disrupt the redlining together. We have to disrupt the lack of black-owned businesses and the lack of black ownership together. We have to disrupt the lack of black land ownership. We have to disrupt those things together. Those are things of mutual benefit. But hey, I'm talking to a brick wall. Y'all rather talk about Keith Lee. Y'all rather talk about the lady who took the tip from Keith Lee and and didn't give it to the other two people. Y'all rather talk about Meg the Stallion and Nicki Minaj. Whole bunch of people would rather you talk about that too. Y'all rather talk about Diddy and Cat Williams interview. There's a whole lot goes, a whole world going on out there. Soldiers being sent off to die over keeping the Middle East unstable, so U.S. corporations could keep getting a great deal for oil. Ain't got nothing to do with democracy. The soldiers that got blew up last week, that had nothing to do with democracy. It had nothing to do with defending freedom. It has nothing to do with that. They're defending capitalism. That's all. Now, and I'm not saying the soldiers are implicit. They're being taught and brainwashed as well. They're being taught, they're giving the company line as well. And I'm not gonna sit here in front that some of the resources, a lot of the resources that we have access to and enjoy here is paid for with blood money. That's real talk. Exercise and freedom of speech. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not fronting, but freedom of speech means that you can criticize. Freedom of speech means that you can, and democracy means you can decide to do something else. Y'all don't want to talk about that. Y'all want to talk about that woman keeping that 4,000 from Keith Lee and how wrong she was for that and all of that. And it's crazy. We're going into Black History Month, and I'm seeing comments with people talking about that's why I don't support black people, saying that's why I don't support black businesses. See, black folk will get you, your own to get you every time. Black people will get you every time. Man, go join the KKK. I'm an honest black person. I'm as honest as I can be. I'm not 100% honest. I don't know nobody who is. But go on somewhere painting all black businesses with a broad brush, sellout. You don't even support black-owned businesses. And I'm hearing people saying, that's why I don't support. That ain't why you don't support black-owned businesses. You don't support black-owned business because you want to be a Legrand Blanc. You want to be a big white. That's why you don't support black-owned businesses. You don't support black-owned businesses because you see the white man's ice cream as being colder. You don't support black-owned business because you brainwashed. Black-owned business ain't done nothing to you to make you paint all black-owned businesses with a broad brush. Anybody out there talking noise like black-owned businesses are just corrupt and bad and that you a sellout. A working class sellout. That's the part that tripped me out. When it's somebody that's making this barely living paycheck to paycheck. You giving these white folks all your money. You think you're getting a fresh shake, but you want to call black people thieves. No, that car lot is robbing you. That car lot that gave you that 12 to 20% interest rate, that's who's robbing you. That mortgage company is robbing you because I guarantee you the white family that got that same house, they not paying the same interest rates you paying. That's who robbing you. That insurance company is robbing you because you live in that community that's been redlined. So your property taxes, your insurance is higher than everybody else. That's who's robbing you. But you want to talk about black-owned businesses. Half of y'all lying on your taxes. You stealing too because you know they screwing you over. You out here stealing. You buying food stamps. You out here doing what you got to do too. But you want to say something blanket about black-owned businesses. You want to say black-owned business. That's why I don't support black-owned businesses. That ain't why you don't support black-owned businesses. That's crazy. You sit around and you don't support black-owned businesses. Then you find a desperate black-owned businesses doing something out of character, doing something illegal, doing something dishonest. Then you turn around and say, I don't support black-owned business. That's why I don't support black-owned businesses. But hell, if they wasn't starving, maybe they would have made a better decision. Maybe if you had been supporting them all along, they'd make a better decision. But yeah, people get desperate and people do things that they ordinarily would not do. I don't know anything about that situation, but America is full of people who lie when they get hungry enough. Because y'all don't believe that everybody deserves to eat. We don't. Or nobody in America will be hungry. It's the richest nation in the world. But our Legrand Blancs don't believe that everyone deserves a meal. And I say the Legrand Blancs because you know what they say, 3% of the population here controls over 90% of the wealth. So it's about what they believe in. right? And they don't believe everybody deserves a meal. They don't. They don't believe that everybody deserves a home, or you wouldn't have homelessness. There's enough money. There's enough resources. How many tiny home villages could you build with the money that we send to Ukraine? That's why Dr. King was assassinated, because he started looking at the money. He started looking at the priorities. How you got money for war but can't feed the poor? They don't believe in feeding the poor, and you don't either. You don't believe that everyone deserves a meal. You don't believe that everyone deserves shelter, clothing. You don't believe that. And you're willing to deal with crime because people ain't going to sit up and starve. People ain't going to sit up and say, well, I'm hungry. I ain't got nothing to eat, but I'm not going to steal. I'd rather starve. No, who does that? But then you judge people when they get desperate and they do. What would you do if you were desperate? What would you do before you lost your home? What would you do before you were homeless on the streets? What are you willing to do? Pray you don't ever get tested. Pray you don't ever have to find out. Because we live in a place that doesn't believe in that. And if someone says, man, we believe that the best way to fight crime is to make sure everybody got the basics: food, clothing, shelter, and access to health care. Oh, you're a communist, socialist. That is evil. Why is it evil? Why is it evil to believe that our tax dollars should go towards making sure everyone has a roof? If he got a roof, maybe he won't break into yours. That everybody got something to eat. If he got something to eat, maybe he won't break in your car. Maybe he won't steal your food. Why do we think it makes more sense to have an extremely rich class and then a slavery class and a bunch of hungry, struggling people in between? Why does that make sense to you? The only people that get hurt if everybody had a place to stay are the people who got 30-room mansions that they don't use. I want y'all to think about that. You have homeless people, and then you also have people who have homes that they can't even occupy fully. We believe in homelessness. We believe that some people should have nothing, that some people should starve. That's a bipartisan belief in this country. That's a bipartisan belief. Both factions of that same party, they both believe in homelessness. They believe in hunger. They believe in extreme poverty. They believe in it. They fight to maintain it. But yeah, she shouldn't have kept that tip. She should have shared that tip. And that was so dishonest. And that's why black people can't get ahead. Still, it is as American as apple pie. Sometimes I feel you were stolen. Nah, that's not why you don't support black-owned businesses. Mm-mm. I'm a black-owned business. I've been in business for over 14 years now. I love it. I can't imagine doing anything else. I mean, I would if I have to, but I can't imagine doing anything else. But it's hard. And it's not hard because of white people directly. It's hard because it runs counter to the programming. It's difficult because it runs counter, to the integration agenda. And it's difficult because we've been made to shun those of us who want ownership. That's just what it is. But I'm gonna keep pushing. We're gonna keep going. Because if we haven't learned one thing as a community, is that the actions of one generation may just be here to spark the next generation. And so whether I realize the Uhuru Academy being the institution of learning that I envision, whether I get to physically see it or not, My goal is to lay a strong enough foundation to where the next generation can pick it up and take it even further. And that's the only patience I'm willing to uphold and support. Love yourself. Get out there. Support Black-owned businesses, especially those that support the community. I want to give a special shout out to the House of Hathor Cultural Center here in Columbia, South Carolina. If you're ever in Columbia, South Carolina, head over to North Main and support the House of Hathor. I want to shout out to the team at the Juneteenth Freedom Festival, a great event that we have every year. I'm honored to be a part of that squad. Uh, I want to shout out to all the Uhuru Academy parents who took the initiative to take their child's education into their own hands. I want to shout out Dr. Oya Mayat. And don't worry, Dr. Mayat, I'm finna get off here and get to work. In conscious ingenuity, we've come together to do STEM camps, virtual STEM camps, the UACI STEM camp. We've done, I think, 3 camps now. Very successful, exposing young people to careers in science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics. And it's a beautiful, beautiful partnership between the Uhuru Academy and Conscious Ingenuity. You can check Conscious Ingenuity out at consciousingenuity.com. If you heard something today that you feel is true, share this video. I don't want to be a YouTube star. I don't want to be an Instagram sensation. I'm a worker, a builder, a doer, and I just want to be on my job. But I come out here to share because I have something to share. And because doing this feeds the work. I love you. I don't mind telling you. Support African Center Education. Support the Uhuru Academy. Peace.